Wings of Hope, led by artist Keith DeCesare at Audubon Terrace in NYC, is a dynamic project fusing art, technology, and community to support monarch butterflies. Featuring native host plants, kinetic pinwheel sculptures, QR codes for live migration tracking, and workshops, it raises awareness and inspires collective action. Located in a historic spot tied to John James Audubon, it's both practical and symbolic, offering habitat, education, and ecological data. It's a multisensory call to stewardship, showing how small actions connect us to nature.
Monarch butterflies, they're really struggling. And we've got a couple of things to look at today that take a really fascinating look at this problem. We've got this art installation, we've got a proposal to transform a historical landmark in NYC, and a whole lot of community action, all happening around these amazing creatures.
It's amazing how these tiny little delicate creatures really capture our imaginations and how much their fate is tied to our own actions.
Okay, so the first thing we've got here is this anonymous art installation, Dance of the Winds. It's at Audubon Terrace, and they used orange safety tape, which obviously echoes the color of monarch wings, to create this really kind of striking visual statement. What do you make of that choice of material? I mean, especially in that kind of grand historical setting.
Well, it's certainly a way to get your attention, isn't it? It's jarring, unexpected. You can't help but stop and wonder what it's all about. And using safety tape, I mean, we associate that with caution and warning. So I think it adds another layer of meaning. It's like they're saying, hey, pay attention, something important is happening here.
Right, and the location is so significant too, right? I mean, Audubon Terrace is named after, the naturalist John James Audubon. It seems like a perfect backdrop for this message about conservation.
It's almost ironic, though. Audubon dedicated his life to studying and protecting birds.
Right.
But the forces that threaten monarch, butterflies, habitat loss, pesticide use, and of course climate change are unfolding right here in a space dedicated to his legacy.
Yeah, that tension definitely adds to the impact, doesn't it? It's like a visual reminder of the disconnect between our ideals and our actions. But speaking of action, we have this Wings of Hope proposal that aims to make Audubon Terrace a real haven for monarchs. So tell me more about that.
It's an incredibly ambitious project, but it has the potential to be really transformative. The proposal outlines this multifaceted approach, everything from creating native plant habitats, including milkweed, to incorporating interactive activities and immersive visualizations. They even want to use kinetic wind sculptures, these ribbons that mimic butterfly wings, to create this sense of movement, of migration.
Oh, wow. So it's like they're trying to recreate the whole monarch life cycle right there on Audubon Terrace.
Exactly. And it's not just about creating a pretty garden, right?
Right.
It's about educating people, engaging them in the science, and inspiring them to take action. They've talked about using QR codes to guide visitors on this migratory walk. It's meant to mimic the monarch's epic journey from Mexico to New York.
I love that idea. It's like bringing the science to life.
Yeah.
Making it tangible, making it relatable. But how does the proposal address the very real threats that are facing monarchs? We're talking about the habitat loss, the climate change, the pesticides. Can a single project on Audubon Terrace really make a dent in those issues?
That's a fair question, and it's one that the proposal acknowledges head on. The Wings of Hope project is not a silver bullet solution.
Right.
But it's a step in the right direction. By creating these pockets of habitat, by raising awareness, by engaging the community, they're planting seeds of change.
And those seeds can have a ripple effect. If people see what's possible at Audubon Terrace, maybe they'll be inspired to take action.
Yeah.
In their own backyards, in their communities.
In their cities.
In their cities, exactly.
And the proposal also emphasizes sustainable practices. They plan to relocate many of the plants after the installation is over to ensure a lasting impact.
Right.
And aid biodiversity. So it's not just about a temporary art piece, it's about creating a legacy of conservation on Audubon Terrace.
Right, and that's crucial because we need solutions that go beyond symbolism.
Yeah.
We need that tangible, lasting change.
Absolutely.
But it's not just about the environment, though, is it? You mentioned something about environmental justice being tied into this project, so can you explain that a bit more?
Sure, you're right. It goes beyond planting flowers and attracting butterflies. Environmental justice recognizes that certain communities, often marginalized or low income, bear a disproportionate burden of environmental harm. They may have less access to green spaces, cleaner air, or even healthier food options.
So how does Wings of Hope connect to that?
Well, by creating these green spaces, by engaging the community in conservation efforts. The project aims to address some of those inequities. It's about bringing the beauty and wonder of nature to everyone, regardless of their background or their zip code.
So it's about empowering those communities
Yes.
to become stewards of their own environment.
Exactly. And by connecting it to the legacy of Audubon, who himself fought for the protection of nature,
Right.
the project gains even more depth and meaning. It becomes a statement about inclusivity, about ensuring that the benefits of conservation reach all communities.
This is all incredibly inspiring, but I have to ask, how realistic is it? Can a project like this really make a difference for monarch butterflies in the long run? I mean, they're facing so many challenges, not just locally, but throughout their entire migratory range.
There's no doubt that this project is ambitious, and there will be challenges. But what's so exciting is that it's not just about saving one species.
Right.
It's about shifting our mindset,
Yeah.
about reimagining our urban spaces as potential havens for biodiversity.
Even small actions,
Yes.
like planting milkweed in your own backyard, can contribute to a larger solution.
Absolutely. Remember, every monarch butterfly that makes that incredible journey starts its life as a tiny caterpillar on a milkweed plant. So by creating these pockets of habitat, even in unexpected places like Audubon Terrace, we're giving them a fighting chance. And maybe, just maybe, we're inspiring others to do the same. And it's not just about planting milkweed either. It's about understanding the interconnectedness of these ecosystems. Monarchs rely on this complex web of relationships, from the flowers they pollinate to even the predators that keep their populations in check.
Right. It's a reminder that everything is connected, that even a seemingly small creature like a butterfly can play this really vital role in the health of an ecosystem.
Absolutely.
And that brings us back to that Dance of the Winds installation.
Yeah.
It's so fascinating how the artist has used, this really simple material orange safety tape
Right.
to create such a powerful, thought-provoking piece.
It is.
What do you think they're trying to achieve by placing this installation at Audubon Terrace? Especially in contrast to something like that Wings of Hope proposal.
Well, there's definitely a sense of urgency in the Dance of the Winds, right? It's ephemeral, it's in your face, it demands your attention. It's a stark reminder of the precarious situation that's facing monarchs.
Whereas Wings of Hope feels more hopeful, more about long-term solutions.
Yes, exactly. Wings of Hope is about creating a space for education, for engagement, for sustainable change. It's about planting seeds for the future, so to speak. But the Dance of the Winds, that's a wake-up call, saying, look, this is happening right now. We need to act now.
Do you think that kind of art, that sense of urgency, can be more effective in mobilizing people than something more subtle?
It certainly has the potential, It disrupts our everyday routines, forces us to confront uncomfortable truths, and sometimes that's what we need, a jolt to the system.
I wonder if the artist intended to create a dialogue between the two projects, the stark warning of that installation alongside the hopeful vision of the proposal.
It's an interesting thought, and whether intentional or not, that dialogue is definitely happening. People are talking about the art, they're connecting it to the Wings of Hope proposal, they're starting to think about their own role in monarch conservation.
And that's ultimately what matters, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sparking those conversations, raising awareness, inspiring action.
Absolutely. Because even if that Dance of the Winds disappears tomorrow, the ideas that it has planted will continue to grow.
Speaking of inspiring action, the Inwood Butterfly Sanctuary is doing some really incredible work on the ground, literally.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit more about their approach to community engagement and how they're making a difference at that really local level?
They're a fantastic example of grassroots action. They've been working so hard to create butterfly gardens, to educate their community, and to advocate for policies that protect monarchs.
It sounds like they're really tapping into that power of community to drive change.
Exactly. They're not just telling people what to do. They're empowering them to become part of the solution. So they host workshops, they organize butterfly tagging events, they even have this program where they distribute milkweed seeds to local residents.
It's amazing how something as simple as planting a few milkweed plants can make a difference.
It really can. And it's not just about the monarchs themselves, it's about restoring that sense of connection to nature, about creating a healthier, more vibrant community for everyone.
Right, and it's a reminder that you don't have to be a scientist or a policymaker to make a difference. Everyone can play a role.
Absolutely. Whether it's planting milkweed, reducing your pesticide use, supporting sustainable agriculture, or simply talking to your friends and family about the importance of conservation, every action counts.
It all sounds incredibly hopeful, but I have to admit, sometimes it is hard to stay optimistic when you look at the scale of the challenges facing monarchs.
Yeah, I understand it can feel overwhelming, but I think it's important to remember that hope is not passive. Hope is an active choice. It's a commitment to keep fighting, to keep working towards a better future, even when the odds seem stacked against us.
And sometimes hope can come from the most unexpected places, like a vibrant art installation made of orange safety tape, or a community garden filled with fluttering butterflies.
Exactly. Those are the moments that remind us that beauty and resilience exist even in the face of adversity, and those are the moments that inspire us to keep going.
So what can our listeners do if they want to get more involved in monarch conservation? Where can they go to learn more and find those opportunities to take action?
Well, there are so many amazing resources available. Organizations like the Monarch Joint Venture, the RCC Society, the National Butterfly Center, they all have websites that are just packed with information and with educational materials and ways to get involved.
And don't forget your local conservation groups.
Right.
They often have volunteer opportunities. They can connect you with other passionate individuals in your community.
Absolutely.
And remember, even small actions can make a difference. Plant some milkweed. Spread the word. And never underestimate the power of your voice.
It's true.
Because the story of the monarch butterfly is ultimately a story about hope. It's a reminder that even in the face of immense challenges, even when things seem bleak, there's always a chance for renewal, for transformation, for a brighter future. You know, it's just so inspiring to see how much passion, how much energy people are pouring into saving these butterflies. And it just makes you realize that we're not just talking about some insect here, we're talking about this symbol of hope, this reminder of how interconnected all living things really are.
Yeah, that symbolism is so powerful. I mean, the monarch's migration, this incredible journey across continents, it really speaks to our own capacity for resilience, for adaptation, for overcoming obstacles.
Yeah, it is a reminder that we're all a part of something much bigger than ourselves, that our actions have these consequences that ripple out way beyond our immediate surroundings.
Exactly. And you know, I think that that's what projects like Wings of Hope and Dance of the Winds are really trying to tap into. They're not just about saving monarchs, are they? They're about reconnecting us to the natural world, to each other, to a sense of shared purpose.
Yeah, it's like they're saying, look, if we can come together to save this tiny little creature, just imagine what else we can accomplish.
Yeah, and that sense of possibility is so important, especially with, you know, all these environmental challenges that we're facing.
Yeah.
We really need that hope, that belief that we can make a difference.
Speaking of making a difference, we talked a lot about individual actions. But what about like the role of government, of policy? What kind of systemic changes are really needed to protect monarchs, other pollinators?
That's a really crucial question. You know, we need policies that protect and restore habitat, that reduce pesticide use, and that address, of course, climate change. We need to shift away from these industrial agriculture practices that are so harmful to pollinators and embrace these more sustainable alternatives.
So it's not just about planting milkweed in our backyards.
No, it's not.
It's about advocating for that larger scale change.
Exactly. And you know, that can take many forms. It could be contacting your elected officials, supporting organizations that are working on policy change, even just talking to your friends and family about these issues.
It's about using our voices, right? Using our collective power to demand a better future for ourselves and for the natural world.
Absolutely. And I think we're starting to see a shift in that direction. You know, there's this growing awareness of the importance of pollinators, and there's this increasing pressure on governments and corporations to take action.
It's like the monarch butterfly is kind of becoming this symbol for this much larger movement. A movement for environmental justice, for sustainability, for a world where humans and nature can coexist in harmony.
It is. And that's definitely a movement worth fighting for. Because ultimately, the fate of the monarch butterfly is completely intertwined with our own. I mean, their survival depends on our choices, and our well-being depends on a healthy planet.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one thing you hope our listeners will take away from this conversation?
I hope they remember that even those small actions can make a difference. So, plant some milkweed, spread the word, support those organizations that are out there working on conservation, and never underestimate the power of your own voice.
That's right. Because the story of the monarch butterfly is ultimately a story of resilience. It's a story of that interconnectedness, and a story of the power of that collective action. And it's a story that reminds us that even in the face of adversity, there's always hope, and there's always something we can do to make a difference.